Today we're speaking with Keyloop Sales Director Tim Pearcey. Tim, how can retailers engage customers and prospects online the same way as they can in a showroom setting? And how can retailers use technology to connect online and in-store experiences to help customers achieve a truly seamless car buying journey?
It depends on the individual. We've done a lot of research into this area, and actually the great news for a retailer is that more than 50% of customers out there still want to visit the dealership, and many of those retailers today have a great in-store experience, so they're very skilled and very adept at providing that great in-store experience. But for the consumers who don't want to do that, you certainly don't want to close the door to them. And arguably, as vehicles become more similar, as we start to move down the maybe electric and hybrid model type era, arguably there's perhaps less need to actually see, smell, and feel a vehicle than there perhaps was historically. I think it's down to personal preference as well. But if you imagine a scenario where a consumer is looking to buy, let's say, an electric car, they might not be sure actually what they're looking to buy. We know that 70% of those buying journeys now begin online. Generally, the customer is looking for more information, and that could be something really simple. So it could be price, it could be stock, it could be availability, yeah? And that will start generally on either a dealer website, could be an OEM website, or it could even be a broker website. Generally, they'll be left with some questions, though, at the end of that they can't answer through the web. Now, imagine for a second if that website had an online chat facility, okay? The consumer could select the chat facility, which would connect them immediately to a skilled and knowledgeable chat operator. That operator could not only answer those initial questions that the consumer might have, they could potentially serve up some digital literature, so perhaps vehicle brochures, spec sheets, etc. They can start to qualify that customer, start to build a rapport with them to the point where they're starting to pull them into a sales cycle. Now, with the right tools and technology in place, that call can be transferred seamlessly to a salesperson within a retailer. The salesperson can view the chat to date, so they can see what has ensued before they pick up the call. They can take over that call with a consumer, and if they're happy to do so, they can convert that call into a video call, okay? Now, what that means is suddenly you open up a whole plethora of opportunities for that client. So not only am I now talking to a real person, I can see the person I'm talking to. The salesperson could potentially walk the consumer around the vehicle that they're interested in, pointing out the relative benefits or attributes of that particular vehicle. They could even potentially invite them in for a test drive as well. And we've got very strong evidence to suggest that where customers have pre-booked an appointment, if they've already had some sort of video chat or engagement with the salesperson, they're far more likely to turn up on the day because they feel a sense of obligation and responsibility. So going back to our buying journey, what that means is the consumer might decide to go in and visit the dealership in person, or if they so wish, they can continue that buying journey online. So it might be that they want to build themselves a deal, or they even want to reserve themselves a vehicle online. I think the important point for the retailer is you're giving the consumer choice around how they want to proceed from that point. And what we see is if a retailer isn't in a position or able to do that, there are lots and lots of other third parties all clamoring for that business, and they will provide that level of experience the consumer's looking for.
Thank you. And finally, Tim, how is the market currently, in your view, and what do you think the future is going to look like?
So there are lots of suppliers out there offering different products and solutions to a retailer's requirements. I think The point for the retailer to consider, though, is actually how easy are you to do business with today for a consumer? It sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but the simpler you are to transact with, the more likely consumers are to find a way to your door and hopefully buy a vehicle. What we try to offer is a set of tools which will enable the dealer to provide the consumer with choice on their website. So if the consumer wants to be able to review a dealer's stock, availability, potentially build themselves a deal online, value their part exchange, determine affordability, and potentially even reserve a vehicle online, then we can do all of that today. Okay, we've got lots and lots of retailers who are already taking advantage of that type of functionality today. If you look at the subject of lead management, always been a challenge for a retailer. We know there's a very direct correlation with some of the work we've done with some of our clients between the speed at which you can pick up and respond to a lead versus the time it came in. So basically, the shorter that time is, and we're talking single digit minutes, the far more likely you are to sell that retailer a vehicle. We provide sets of tools which enable the retailer to respond in an extremely simple, slick and professional way to that initial lead and to give the retailer the best possible chance to win that business. People will still need to drive motor cars. There's absolutely going to be a place for the dealer in the future. I suspect the whole purchase model and ownership model will probably change, but those businesses have to be able to return on the investment, because if they don't and they can't, then they'll simply go off and do something else. So I don't think anybody's got all the answers right now, but when I came into this industry 25 years ago, people were predicting the demise of the dealer then, and here we are 25 years later. They've probably just had the best 18 months that they can recall from a sales and profitability wise. So for me, the automotive industry and certainly the kind of retailer end has been incredibly proficient at adapting to change. We've had no choice, and I'm sure that will continue to be so going into the future.